All right.
You should talk this whole episode in your Stitch voice.
Ouch.
I
Yeah,
can't
right.
share this. Good thing they can't see it.
Peen is great. Great.
All right.
Oh, I just had a game in my head. What was it?
Well, you have time to think. Don't worry. Because today we are talking about our favorite games we wish we could replay for the first time. Maybe not our favorite, just games we wish we could replay for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I am Cullen of
Brett?
Tropical Mix. Yes, Brett of Tropical Mix above me.
I'm Gabe. I don't know where I am,
You are
but I'm here.
up to the left.
Then that leaves me still directionally challenged. My name is Nathan.
To the right, wow, the left of me.
Hmm.
And Nathan has not moved from that position on the screen since he got here.
I am a talented ventriloquist.
Nice.
So, oh wait, that's maybe I'm being ventriloquized.
We will never know.
You could do both. I don't like this.
There's always somebody with the puppet strings. That's what they say, right?
There are no strings on me.
Nice, nice.
Wow. So, today, again, we are talking about our favorite games. No, why do I keep saying favorite? We're talking about games that we wish we could replay for the first time. I think we each have a couple we want to talk about. But before we begin that, shall we go over just real quick a news recap? Just some of the biggest things that have happened.
If you've got news, yeah.
Well, we haven't done a tropical cast with all of us in, 2 months? It's been a while. So,
Something like that, yeah.
what the biggest news, I think, is Google Stadia. We haven't talked about this yet. So, Nathan, it's me and you.
Was it news?
It was big news, I'd say.
I think the better question is, was it surprising?
Was it a confirmation?
Yes. But me and Nathan actually have played Stadia together a lot. So, Nathan, what are your thoughts on Stadia dying?
I really can't say I played Stadia a lot. I mean, I played Serious Sam 3 for about maybe an hour. I think you and I may have played a game of 2K.
Well, we made a franchise.
That sounds awful.
Was that
on
on
Stadia? Yeah.
Well, by God, it was almost as if playing natively, I guess.
Yeah. It works very well.
It's 2K franchise, so not much really stands out. But Stadia, it no longer exists. It was a challenge I think, for people to get into wanting to invest into Stadia. I think for people who just don't, who have smaller amounts of discretionary income, the idea of having to purchase and then also subscribe was, I think, a challenge. I think GeForce Now has maybe did a step above that where they have a free tier. So I think streaming, cloud gaming is still alive.
Stadia is also free. You just have to buy the games.
Right. But shit, you know what? You're right, Cullen.
That was the big misconception, though. And that's probably why it didn't get a bunch of people.
Sure. But I think that we'll see what cloud gaming has in store. I think there's still a lot of options. I think obviously Stadia didn't have the investment internally because there was a lot of news, or there was kind of like a graduation of steps where Google was slowly starting to pull out of it, releasing developers and so on and so forth, that it became clear that its final stages were on the way.
Yep.
But thanks for pointing out that correction.
Gabe or Brett, have either of you used Stadia?
I think I played like 2K20 because you gifted it to me.
Oh,
Played it for like
did
5 minutes. Yeah.
I was pushing Stadia for a while there for you.
Yeah. You were like a
I think
ambassador.
that
Hey,
was an
listen,
understatement. You had like
it really
3 or
works extremely well. Like, and I've used PlayStation Now, Game Xbox. What is it called? Game Cloud? I don't remember.
xCloud.
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 I've used GeForce Now. I've even tried like the Shadow desktop. Nathan probably knows what I'm talking about. You can like rent a whole desktop basically. I've tried all of them, and Stadia easily works the best. The lowest latency, it just feels the most local, I guess, when you're playing it. Not to say there's no lag, because obviously there will be playing online, but yeah,
I will say though, actually going back to my first point, I mean, with other providers, let's just say for GeForce Now, if I had bought a game a year before Stadia's release that GeForce Now would accept,
yeah,
I wouldn't have to make another purchase. But if I already had that game, let's say a 2K game, I would have to again buy another copy with Stadia, which I think is
correct.
that's where I was trying to lead to, I guess.
I will say when it first came out, actually, Nathan, you might remember this. I got invited to try the beta Project Stream. Do you remember that? In like 2017?
I do, is when they had they were doing that on Assassin's Creed Odyssey, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
That
actually,
was
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I do remember that being a bit mind blowing as far as I think that was my first time seeing cloud gaming, and at that time in 2018 or 2019 when that game was pretty new,
Yeah.
just to be able to see that through internet connection was kind of astounding.
And back then, I don't think Sony was doing PS4 games on PS Now. So either you were streaming PS3 games or you were renting a whole desktop to play a game, so that was pretty cool. And then when it came out, I actually played it a lot because I got Shadow of the Tomb Raider 2K and Darksiders Genesis like right away, and kind of played, Darksiders and Tomb Raider with our sister Kaylee a bunch, and it kind of I don't know, it kind of made me feel like I don't know, like I got a new console even though it was just a cloud gaming thing. I don't know. I will have fond memories of Stadia, even if I didn't use it as much. And we can't forget when Cyberpunk came out, that was arguably the best platform to play it on, because most people didn't have the hardware to play it at like good settings on a PC, and then the Xbox and PlayStation ports were garbage at the time. So
I'm not so sure about that, but I will say
yeah,
the controller was amazing. I really like the build of the controller, and the colors of it.
the
It was just very
wasabi.
wasabi.
Wasabi, yep.
Actually, that night blue, yeah, that night blue is very nice. So, really, what killed them is once I think, obviously the lack of games. And once they got Cyberpunk, I thought they would maybe take a nice turn, but because that's a big game to get, and then they didn't. And then also when they killed their internal studio, I mean, I feel like everyone knew that was the last straw. So if you don't even want to make your own games for it, why should we take turns or put time and effort into it? The last good news is they're refunding all of your purchases. You can also transfer your saves to PC versions, which is pretty cool.
That's cool.
And yeah, you get a refund for everything you bought. So that's actually really cool as well. So good stuff there, Google. And they said they're still gonna use this service for other platforms. And I don't know if you guys saw, they were like renting out like basically an Arkham Knight copy for AT&T if people subscribe to like DirecTV Mobile or whatever. They would get like a free copy of Arkham Knight to stream, which is basically using Stadia, but it wasn't on Stadia officially. So I think they're gonna be doing that. So yeah. Any other news, Brett, you can think of?
Off the top of my head, I feel like there's so much stuff we missed in the 2 months that it would be hard to
Yeah.
pick something.
Oh, there was also rumor that they turned down a Hideo Kojima game on Stadia because it was single player focused. So that's kind of weird, but all right. Let's get back to the main topic, and I want Gabe to start. A game you wish you could play for the first time.
Yeah. There's a few I've got down, but the first one that I want to share is The Last of Us Part 2.
That's a good one.
Because for me that was a strange, cathartic experience, because without like any spoilers, like the way that the game plays out, it feels like a long game because it seems to kind of drag on, but I'm sure you've heard this, that that might be done. That's a theory, is that it's done on purpose to kind of reflect the characters in the game. Um, and like I like definitely felt that. So like once the game was over, it was such a release for it to be done.
Yeah.
And it was, yeah, I think because of that, I would love to like re-experience that feeling.
To add to that, I also think that it's just really hard to play because of, I don't know, like the atmosphere of the whole game. It's like, I don't know how to describe it, but it like kind of gives like an uneasy feeling the entire game just because of everything that's happening.
You don't know like what could happen next.
Yeah.
Just from like the first like 2 hours of the game, like so much happens.
Yeah. And just like the gunplay is like so, in a word, like sick. Like, you know, you can see people's guts get blown out, or
Sure.
when you're
Their limbs go flying.
or you like shoot a dog and they just start whimpering and for like 2 minutes until they die. It's really crazy. And then it's just like, and then you'll be like, or you can hear them like yelling each other's names, and they're like, it's crazy how much detail went into the random characters you kill all the whole game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good pick. I think replaying it like would give you the same uneasy feeling, but obviously you don't get the experience of doing it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have anything else to add to that?
No. It's a great game.
Yeah, I need to go back for the 100% the speedrun trophy, but I just really don't want to replay it because of how
It's heavy.
Yeah, it's very heavy. Brett, you can go next, and then we'll go Nathan and then me.
All right. I'm just gonna get this one out of the way first, and it's more so just the cultural, I think, impact it had at the time, but Halo 3. I don't know. I feel like outside of like Fortnite, there's not been a whole lot of games that kind of just took not just like the gaming landscape by storm, but like, general audience and everything. Like Halo 3 was huge, and this was before party chat was a thing. So like you would go into a lobby and like everyone had mics. You would shit talk. You would hear people play music through their, up to their headset. Uh, all that shit. But then like the game had a post game lobby, and like you would team up with these random people you never met before, and then just have like the next like 6 hours just playing multiplayer together, doing custom games, which was also pretty big for the FPS at the time. Forge really helped, and like it was just, I don't know. I made so many friends on that game, and that was like what, 14 years ago,
Wow.
I think. And like there's still people like on my friends. I don't play with them anymore, but they're still on my friends list from when I met them 14 years ago. And yeah, I think with like party chat now, you don't really come across that whole teaming up with random people anymore kind of thing. Like very rarely, like when I'm playing a game now, like I'll hear like somebody with their mic on, but they're usually just blasting music through their thing, so I just mute them. But yeah,
Was that the first time that you were part of like an online community where people that you didn't know?
Yeah. I mean, like Noah had a 360. I played Halo 2 with him, but like we didn't have online, so like we didn't experience that. So, but yeah, when I bought Halo 3, like dude, I mean, you guys know I was over at that dude's house like every day. I practically lived there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was the first online game I was a part of, and honestly, like that community went from like 2007 to like there was still a big population even after Halo Reach came out in 2010. So
Are those servers on still?
no, they shut them down. When was it? I think it was this year, sometime this year. They shut all the legacy Halo 3. Well, not even just Halo 3, but all the legacy Halo titles. So you can still do like if you get people, you can still do like custom games with them.
Yeah.
Excellent,
But, like,
Kai.
But well, I mean, you don't even need X-Link. Like you can, they still have like the private thing servers for it, but there's just no matchmaking.
Yeah, I don't. People who grew up after the fact, like the PS4 era and on, don't really. I don't think they understand how big like once everyone got like a 360 or a PS3, how big like that changed the online gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of like everything you said, everyone had to talk to each other, and even on the PS3 there was no party chat, so
Yeah.
the whole time you were just hearing other people talk or play music or whatever, yell at their kids. Yeah.
Yeah, they shut down January 13th, so beginning of the year.
Yeah, and there was constant like DLC and maps being made, and obviously there still is, but it was at a quicker rate. There was a new Call of Duty every year that had a huge following, and obviously it still sell like hotcakes, but it was a lot different than online gaming is now, I would say, for sure. Well, Nathan, it is your turn.
I think one of the games that I wish I could replay again in my head would be Elder Scrolls Morrowind. That was a game that it forced me to use different skills, or I guess maybe it was a game that forced me to break out of habits that I had developed with games and the conventions that I had just accepted as part of video games. I think Morrowind has did a great job at allowing the player to explore at their own pace and to encourage the player to kind of take notes or to um, pay attention pay attention really, and do kind of investigative work with dialogue and with using the journal, and that way you'd be able to kind of figure things out. It was a great way to remove the map marker and the fast travel thing, which I think just leads me to have so much open world fatigue, where much of the game then becomes a checklist and like work. It, it feels very mundane and tedious. So Morrowind was a great game, and just empowering players to play the game for themselves and not let the game show them what to do.
Would you say that game changed open world games, or like would they? I mean, did a lot of games take from that? I don't know if you know what I'm trying to say here.
I don't know. I don't think it was entirely groundbreaking in that sense. I do think that it's an Elder Scrolls game that had that feels a lot like a CRPG. And so it feels like there's just some more that also goes into the combat as well, where it becomes more granular, and you can see why. Okay, if you swing a sword, oh, there's a reason why I missed. As opposed to something in Skyrim where I felt like it was, oh, if your reticle is on the person, you get at least a hit. But there was some more granular stuff to that. I don't know if it was really groundbreaking though. I think it was certainly a product of its time, and yeah, I don't think it was anything truly new.
I have not played basically any Elder Scrolls except 5 a little bit.
5 is also a really great game.
It is.
Have you played it on Alexa yet?
I have not. No,
Would you try?
but I would actually.
How long would
Kind
it
of a-
take to beat the tutorial
For Skyrim,
on Alexa?
Bleak Falls Barrow, Brett. I don't know. I don't know what the gameplay loop feels like on the Alexa.
I saw the
The Alexa.
announcement video or something, and they're like, swing sword, and then Alexa's like, hit for 12 damage. And
It sounds kind of funny because it does sound like a like one of those old school text RPGs, except
Yeah.
it's audio, almost like a D&D feel.
yeah. Huh. All right, my first pick, I guess. I think I would have to say, and this will be obvious, Uncharted 2, Among Thieves. Raise your hand if you saw that coming. Oh, nice. Oh, that's a good one. You win the cookie of the day, sir. What kind of cookie would you like?
Really, any would be fine.
All right, check your
I
door
appreciate
in 20 minutes.
Except, I guess I am eating cookies on this Google Meet call. Am I?
Yeah, you can, yeah. All right.
It's a terrible tech joke. Sorry.
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. Another good one. Basically, kind of what Brett said about Halo, with the multiplayer, and that was really my first real thing I put time into online, so that was really cool. And then just a single player and how much it improved over 1, and the fact that I've replayed it like 32 times and I still don't get bored of it. Uncharted 2, one of the best games of all time. That's all I can say. Great characters, great locations, great story. The graphics, I mean, they look a little dated obviously now, but considering a game came out 13 years ago, it looks pretty good, I would say, for a 13-year-old game. And then, yeah, just, I just love the way the characters interact with each other. And, a lot of games before that, and even a few years after that, kind of felt like the cutscenes were kind of like awkward, or, like the way people talk to each other. But, like, Uncharted is, like, really natural, and, like, it's kind of, like a movie. But even, like, in gameplay, like, just the way everyone interacts is really cool. So, Uncharted 2. Yeah. Right, Gabe?
Right. Yeah. Well, like, what makes 2 like have that kind of experience or emotion? Have that emotion for you rather than 1? Like, what's different for you?
Well, for one, the gameplay is much better in 2, which was really, that was the main thing holding 1 back. It kind of felt like a PS2 game, just with, like Halo controls, kind of. Okay, like Jak and Daxter use like triangle to shoot or square or something. So, Halo controls as in they use the triggers to shoot instead of the face buttons. Or GTA, replay Vice City and like triangle to shoot. It's just really weird. Anyway, that's what I mean by Halo or more modern controls, I guess. So that helped, and then just, I think going to the different locations around the map or the world, Borneo, Shambhala, obviously, and Yeah, what is this? Nepal, just Nepal in general. A bunch of places in Nepal. Bringing back the characters you already loved from the first game, Sully and Elena, and then adding, Harry Flynn, awesome character. Chloe, who got her own game and she was a staple in the franchise now. Stuff like that. Or even like, just like the Tenzin scenes, like, which they purposely made where he doesn't speak any English. You just woke up in, Tibet, somewhere in Tibet. This dude is not speaking English to you, so you have no idea what's going on. Nathan Drake has no idea what's going on. But you find a way to work together with him. And then you find out what Schaefer was wondering or warning you about. Just just almost everything about it is like perfect in my opinion. Like that's a great game.
The opening, of course.
You have the opening, and then you later come back to the opening once you find out what happened. Yeah. But they
made me had it.
Yeah.
So good.
And they when you're climbing the train the second time, they use different angles so it doesn't feel like you're doing the same thing, and it's just a little bit faster paced, so it's really cool. Yeah, great stuff.
I mean, obviously I didn't play the story as much as you did, but like the multiplayer was simple, but like everything worked.
Yeah,
like everyone had an even playing field. All the maps were, I don't want to say all of them were amazing, but like they all had like how Uncharted plays.
Yeah. Verticality.
Like in mind. Yeah, like verticality plays really good on most of the maps, but like it gave you options that your like typical FPS like Call of Duty doesn't have, where like
Yeah.
there might be this hallway the enemy's controlling, but like there's multiple ways to go, because you can go up above, or if you go underneath, this leads you back behind or something like that. So
yeah, every map had like the main level where you spawn. You could go like underground in basically all the levels, and then you could also go above ground, like basically in towers or whatever on every single level basically. And then there's like power weapons, which would be your snipers, RPGs scattered around the map, and just basically whoever gets there first gets the power weapon, versus having a loadout like Uncharted 3 or 4. So you can just start with a sniper if you want, which is that has its own perks. But I think everyone rushing to like get the RPG and the fort underground in that tiny little bit room is it's something very cool. Yeah.
all right.
Well, Gobble, it's your turn again.
I was gonna write down Uncharted 4 as one of mine, because that was the first game I played on my PS4 Pro. It just looks so good, and I had the thought that like games will never look as amazing as this. That's changed obviously, but just wanted to like relive that experience of like just being amazed by the graphics. But that's not mine. My next one is Tomb Raider from 2013, which is kind of similar to Uncharted in ways. So I actually had a 360 before a PS3, so I played this before Uncharted. So this was kind of my first like Uncharted experience, even though this came first. And I think this was like the first game of this type that I played. This like third person like narrative action adventure, and like because I played it, it's kind of changed my like preference of game since then. Like I that's like my number one preference of game. Thanks to this game, just like its presentation of like being like a movie. I'd never played a game like that before, and it just made me like appreciate gaming in like a different way that I hadn't before that point, and it was awesome.
Do you I mean, I think I know you've played the next one, but like, would you say the 2013 was like your favorite of the three, or
The second one was.
Rise was? Okay.
Yeah.
I, I think I agree with you. Obviously, I played Uncharted first, 1, 2, and 3. And I didn't play the Tomb Raider until the definitive edition came out on the PS4, but
Mhm.
yeah, I don't say the game got a lot of hate, but like people were saying it's like, Uncharted with a girl, whatever, a woman,
Sure.
which is fair, but yeah, a girl. That's actually in 3 you play as her as a girl, so in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. But anyway, I think it's really well done, and the optional like tomb areas are actually really cool. It's something that would have been cool in like Uncharted 4. They're all like side areas, but yeah, they're like optional, and you find like more ruins or like something like that. That's pretty cool. The upgrade system was different. Like there was enough different stuff to differentiate it from Uncharted,
Mhm.
and it's definitely more gory. You can like stab people with your pickaxe and shit. Um,
I like the gunplay more.
yeah, I'd say until like 4, it was better. Yeah. But I also think that, and I'm just gonna add on since you're already talking about it. I think that
It's
the first one was a perfect length and like perfect amount of side content, and then after that, I just got to that open world, add extra shit to prolong the game, kind of,
mhm.
which I don't really like, but I know a lot of people do like that. So, but yeah, great
Yeah.
games.
The third one just had the worst ending. And it dragged on.
Yeah, similar to The Last of Us Part 2,
Mm,
kind of, in a way.
yeah.
All right, Bert.
Don't call me that. For my next one, and this is gonna depend greatly on I think where you started with it, but your first Pokemon game. So for me, obviously Red and Blue is where I started. Um, Going back and playing these games have not like aged well at all. Like there's so many quality of life features that are missing, like the physical special split, abilities, um running. God, dude, having to walk. Uh HMs having to be a thing, which I know that was a problem for a few gens, but like I don't know, there's just like something magical thinking about like me playing through those games for the first time. Um I mean like Pokemon was like my first RPG and I know it's pretty light for an RPG, but like it's the first game I ever played where you have to worry about like stats and moves and like what you're gonna do and like
Yep.
how are you gonna beat this battle, and like
Strats.
strats, yeah. And like the graphics are simple. Some of the creature designs were hideous, especially like I'm picturing like Charizard's back sprite right now, you know?
Um,
The one horn.
Venusaurs.
Oh
I think
God, Venusaur is just like a blob, like and this is no Venusaur slander. I'm just saying like his thing was literally like a blob. Like I think Mux was pretty much just like it was just like a blob with a hand sticking up, from what I remember. Um, but I mean, but yeah, like it's just Pokemon games after the fact were better. Like I think I enjoyed Gold and Silver more, and I enjoyed Ruby and Sapphire more. But like that built on the foundation of what came before, and like like those games like weren't gonna like recapture that feeling I had. Um, so but I think like if someone started with Ruby and Sapphire, they're gonna say the same thing. Like that'd probably be their game, or if they started on Sun and Moon.
What if
You
you
know.
started with Pokemon Snap?
I mean, I don't know. That'd be a really flippin' weird place to start.
I bet somebody did.
Quite
I'm sure-
unlikely, but yeah.
Yeah. But like, yeah, just like the music and everything, and like, I think the last time I played through them was on the 3DS when they released,
That's probably a good
and like
thing.
it was a slog.
Um, I was thinking about putting Gold and Silver on Crystal on my list because, while I agree with you on the, playing them for the first time, figuring it out, I think because of the quality of life upgrades, the new Pokemon, and then going back to Kanto, that just added, like, that's mind blowing. They could fit a whole new area, and then on top of that, you go back. And it's like a couple years later, I think, so it's like things have changed a little bit, but most of it's still the same. So if you played Red and Blue or Yellow, then you get like it's kind of like what's the word? Like fan service kind of, and you get because you know what I mean. So that was gonna be my pick, but I end up putting it on here. But yeah,
See, I don't know. I agree and disagree with that, just because like can't okay, like going back to Kanto is super cool, but it's like a super like nerfed version of Kanto. Unless you're like playing hard gold, then it's pretty much a one for one version of it. But like, I mean, like, I mean, the fact that they were able to fit it on the cartridge was cool. But like, Viridian Forest isn't there. A bunch of locations from Red and Blue are gone. But I would say if I could pick a moment out of that game that I could go back and replay, it's the first time you get up to Mount Silver and you fight Red.
and he wrecks you about
Yeah,
10 times.
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It was so good. I wrote down Silver too, and I had the thought that like there was a time when we didn't know who the starters were.
True.
Our first time seeing them was like playing the game for the first time, and that just I feel like that adds to the experience of like being a trainer and choosing like your starter for the first time, seeing a Cynical and being like easy choice, let's go. And now we're don't give me that
Yeah,
face.
yeah,
And now we're spoiled. Like we see it like half a year.
yeah.
It's lame.
They have like trailers for everything. Yeah.
Yeah, the trailers for like just for
Yeah.
the starters.
Yeah, gaming in general, just even 15 years ago, way different. Crazy.
Mhm.
It's kind of like music. Remember, people used to put out like one single before an album came out. Now they're like 4 songs before the album comes out. So if you actually want to listen to the whole album, you've already heard almost half of it usually. Versus, you hear the one lead single and then buy the album and you have 10, 11 brand new songs to listen to. So, yeah. All right, Nathan, welcome back. You haven't said anything in years.
I've been thinking for the last years.
I'm going to take a guess. If I'm right, I'm taking the cookie back.
Are you gonna guess my this next one here?
Yep.
You're not gonna get the one that's in my head right now.
All right, I got this. Ready? Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm really ready.
All right, here we go. He is thinking.
This guy.
Wait. Snowboard Kids 2.
Hey, that was a great N64 title.
Atlas Tax.
Yes. So my the next one it's an answer based not so much out of nostalgia, but for what could have been, or I guess FOMO. Dota 2. And why I say Dota 2 is that I think when I first got introduced to it, I had no idea of all of the mechanics or really the depth, the complexity of how the gameplay is at the time when I first played it, that I'd never really understood a appreciation for it. But now for years later, after I've learned about, what, for example, like what animation canceling is and what that does, like I never would have thought of an animation as a gameplay aspect, but being able to cancel an animation to gain an upper hand on an opponent was like just mind blowing. At this time, I don't think I'll ever get into Dota 2. But I think if I had started Dota 2 back in 2012 with my college roommate and had the same understandings of the game as I do now, I would probably be in a Dota 2 match right now. Like I don't know. Like that's just the vibe that I get. Like I think of how engrossing the gameplay is, and how it truly is one of those games where it's just incredibly challenging or incredibly difficult to master.
I
So-
haven't played that at all. So
Yeah. So I don't know much about Dota 2, but like how does like animation canceling work in that? Because like I know what animation canceling is, but the only time I've ever like heard it referred to in gaming is for fighting games.
Right. So I think one of the principles why people do it is, and I think it's probably in fighting games as well, is that if you have an opponent who knows the character you're playing and thus knows the skills that they have or the abilities they have, that the ability to kind of lead up with a spell to kind of bait the other opponent into doing something, but then able to cancel that animation maybe by clicking on an item shop or clicking on a mob, that will cancel that animation, and then the opponent maybe will have made what I understood could be a very small but crucial mistake as far as like positioning. So like for example, if you think of a top-down view, if your character has a skill shot that is firing in a straight line at something, like perhaps not a good example, but like Hanzo from Overwatch, a completely different genre, but like his ultimate is like a just straight line skill shot. So if your character starts up with that and there's an animation to that can take a little bit, where it signals to the team, oh, this character is going to do that, but then canceling out of that does, in fact, for games like MOBAs, all of those details really matter. And it matters for positioning. It matters for an insane amount of things, or even like how characters in Dota will get gold from farming creeps or the mobs. I think this is in really any other MOBA. It's where the concept of like when you have a creep, you should not just auto attack and kill it, because if there's a opponent on the other side, they could wait until your last shot, your last animation, and then take that kill and experience from you, even though you did all the work. And so it's like this, like really insane details that people have to think about. And so I have a great admiration for people who are able to kind of invest themselves in that game, because it's no small feat.
Interesting.
So if Dota 3 came out today, would you be playing it?
Probably not, no. Those matches are like 40, 50 minutes long.
Well,
Yeah, it's an insane amount of commitment, and yeah, nope.
all right.
But a college kid who probably didn't take their coursework too seriously, that would have been something else.
I feel that, young blood. I feel that. Well, my next pick, I'm gonna say it because either Persona 4 or 5, and I only say that because they both, like, after I finished the story, both of them made me feel like empty inside. I don't know if that makes sense. Gabe, have you finished either of those?
I have not. I think I will finish Persona 5 first because I just got that on Switch.
Nice. I know Brett just started it, and I know Nathan almost finished 4, right?
I almost did, I think.
Yeah. Well, all right. No spoilers, obviously, but so basically, the gameplay or the game is like almost 100 hours long. Obviously, give or take. If you grind, if you do a bunch of side content, but the persona aspect of catching the personas, like basically Pokemon, but with demons or mythological creatures. And then going through the dungeons is really cool. And an aspect I like about them is that they kind of have like emotions, or you're trying to fight them and catch them, and you have to do the in Persona 5 you have to do the negotiation. In 4 you have to use this, just pick a skill card, which is not as cool, but it was a PS2 game, so whatever. And then there's the entire other aspect of like living a second life, or you picking what the character does, going to school, answering questions, quizzes, taking a test, deciding who you want to hang out with, or going home and doing your schoolwork. And then over this 100 hours, you like find out a bunch of things about all the characters and the story. And then kind of by the time you finish it, both those games left me with like a empty feeling inside. Like, and I don't think I played another game like for like a week after both of those, because, which sounds kind of dramatic, but like I don't really know how to describe it, except if you put that much time into it, something, and then you see the outcome, like you kind of, yeah, I mean, you feel that way sometimes. So yeah,
It feels like one of those games where it really does encourage you to kind of really live in the character that you are. Because as you're navigating relationships and starting to build those relationships with characters, it feels, yeah, I could see where you could feel really engrossed into. At least that's how I would be after such a really long journey and being along with those people. Like that for sure, I could see that.
yeah, it's kind of really like you're like living as the main character, because again, you're making every decision for him, and you're picking the dialogue options, you're picking who he dates and whatever. So
And it's really fun to see how that all that really feeds into the combat or the dungeon based gameplay.
yeah, it all works very well together. The more you level up your friends, then they get new skills that are really good for the dungeon aspect, or if you fail to just hang out with them at all, then they'll miss out on a bunch of skills. So yeah, it's kind of like if you want to really get the most out of it, you have to do like a second playthrough, because there's stuff in New Game Plus that isn't in the main game, like optional bosses and the fact that you can pick any persona you want that you've already had before. And then like just it's easier to level up the characters in the social life aspect, so you have more time to do other things or level them up faster, so you can get better moves for them. So yeah, very cool. I recommend playing through the personas if you have not.
I'll get there.
Yeah,
We'll see.
same.
All right, that was my next one. So back to Gabe.
I'll be right back.
How many are we doing?
As many as you have. I only have one more, but yeah.
I will share one more as well. And that is Yoshi's Island for SNES. Playing this game is like my earliest memory of playing a video game at all. That was maybe 4 or 5. And I just have this like the memory of like playing it in my aunt's basement on this really old TV. just like seeing these colors on the screen that I've never seen before, like not on like any game or any movie or TV show, just bright, vibrant colors that this game had, that I think still like holds up today. It's just like the way it was presented. Um, it just looked like a kid's like storybook to me, and I think that's what kind of appealed to me. And um, yeah, and like all the different sounds in the game also kind of like stuck with me, like the sound of Mario crying when you would lose him, like that's ingrained in my brain forever. Unfortunately, no, yeah, it was a great game, and I can just picture the exact like memory right now of playing it. It's good.
I love when games do that, because memories. You forget so much stuff in your life until like a specific thing re-triggers it. But things you can just like recall on demand, like obviously those mean a lot to you. That or like you remember it for some reason or another, because it meant, whether it's good or bad, it meant a lot to you. So it's very cool.
There's like a smell I can smell too.
Yeah, see, that's crazy, but in a good way.
Yeah.
I always thought it was weird that the direction they took with that game compared to the first one, Super Mario World, because wasn't it called Super Mario World 2 or something like that? Let me see. I swear it was.
I forgot.
Let me look real fast. Yoshi's Island.
Oh.
Yeah, Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. I don't know, I always thought it was weird. Like, I haven't played this one that much, but
it's like a prequel kind of.
Yeah.
If it's Baby Mario, but then they put that's like a sequel also, the 2.
And it like has a completely different art style, to be honest.
Yeah, different combat.
Yeah. So I thought it was weird that they did that, but I guess maybe it was to appeal to younger people. I mean, it was going to sell no matter what, obviously, but
yeah.
2 years later, after other dinosaurs on an island were let loose.
Oh yeah.
It just feels like a Jurassic Park analog.
Yeah, I mean, but Yoshi already existed. But yeah, Yoshi's Island, and then they made a sequel in the DS. Did you play that one?
I played a little bit of it. It wasn't as good as the original.
Oh, there's a 3DS one also.
I'm gonna correct you, Cullen. It looks like Yoshi. Wait, when did Yoshi become a concept?
91 was when the first Mario World came out.
Concept of Yoshi.
Yeah, so at least 1990.
The inception of Yoshi.
Well,
Yoshi, comma, a thesis.
Yoshi, colon. A story. No, a memoir. Memoirs.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I think we all have some games from our childhood that we probably remember. And actually, funnily enough, me and Brett used to play Super Mario World in our aunt's basement on a old ass TV.
Yeah.
So,
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Same
that's
exact
the place to play games.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, we played Mario World 1 in the stupid hard ass Star Wars games on the Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, shit was impossible. I also played NBA Live 95 a little bit, but the
Classic.
game was pretty bad if you think about it. I think that was the first NBA Live. Yeah. Brett, I guess it's your turn since you're back.
Okay. What did I miss? I just don't want to repeat anything. Not that I think I will.
Sure, he can tell you.
I shared Yoshi's Island.
Okay. The Game Boy Advance one or the NES? The old one?
SNES.
SNES
The Game
one?
Boy Advance was just a port, but yeah.
Um, I'm probably I want to say Skyrim, probably. Um, this was a game that this was actually from my memory the second game where Nate bought it for himself on 360, and then you guys came over to our house that night, and then I ended up just playing it for like 8 hours straight. The first was Dragon Age Origins, so both RPGs. Skyrim's one of those games where okay, like Nate was talking about Morrowind, and like Morrowind and Oblivion are both a lot more complicated than Skyrim is. Like there's way more variables you have to consider, more skills you have to work on, like leveling up and stuff. But Skyrim, I think, has just the right amount where it's not like super. What's the word I'm looking for? Like it's easy enough to get into.
Accessible.
Yes, it's like it's very like the first time I opened Oblivion's skill tree, like it was daunting how much like stuff there was, and from my understanding, Morrowind has even more than that. Um, it's like Skyrim's just the right amount of accessible to where like you can jump in with not knowing a whole lot, but there's like it's just it's one of those games where like I still play it to this day and I still discover new stuff. Like I'll just be walking around along the road and like, I got all the achievements in the 360 version. I got all the achievements in the Xbox One version. Like I'll still be walking down, break off on this one road, and I will find a location I have not been to yet. Um, and like Skyrim does have fast travel, like Nate was talking about. Like Morrowind doesn't have that. And I think it does take a little bit away from like the game, like knowing I can just travel across the map without having to actually like worry about getting there. But I think part of the reason I love Skyrim so much is that like I will literally just sit there and travel and run to where I'm going, or I'll jump up a mountain that you're not supposed to be able to, but then like be able to get to this new location that way, or I can just skip over the mountain and then like instead of having to go all the way around. And like the story's not super amazing, but like a bunch of the optional guilds are great. Like there's a lot of good quests in there. The build variety that you can have in that game is just like really good. Like my first playthrough, I pretty much just went tanky warrior guy with a big sword or an axe or club, whatever the hell I used. But then I started learning about like alchemy and enchanting, and then like realizing like if I make these potions, then I can buff my stuff better. And yeah, and like everyone jokes about the stealth archer, but it's a very viable build. But like just the fact that like I can play a one-handed tank or like a healing mage if I wanted to do that, or like my current guy, like I've got I think two swords, one in each hand with different like one drains health from people and another one like heals me when I hit them with it. So like I got two effects that work really well together going on, or like I can do magic in one hand and attack in the other, like stuff like that. Like yeah. It's just a very fun, accessible game that like kind of blows my mind every time I still play it.
And is on any console you can think of.
Yeah, it's one of the best role-playing sandboxes
Mm-hmm.
I think I've ever released.
Yeah.
Should play it, Cullen. The achievement list isn't. It's grindy, but like there's nothing on there that's like super hard.
One day we'll get to it.
I'm gonna get it on Switch.
Gary just bought it on Switch. He said it's abysmal.
Dispo. Okay, I won't do it.
And if Gary says that because he doesn't even play games really, then it's probably kind of bad. But I don't know. You might enjoy it still on the go. Or a Steam Deck. Nathan, it is your turn.
All right. I think for my last pick, a game
Jimmy Butler?
Jimmy Butler? No, Jimmy Butler is not.
He was the
What was
30th pick.
That's funny. So the one that I'd have to go with last year would be Last of Us Part 1. That was a game that kind of had this quality of, in my experience, to encapsulate a time, like a brief time in my life, and when I think of Last of Us, I'm able to identify the things that I did, kind of as part of a ritual when playing that game. I would, in the summer of, was that 2013? Is that when that came out? Or shortly, I think it was earlier in the year, but during the summer, that was at home. It was kind of a ritual for me to go later in the afternoon when the sun was starting to go down, and go and buy like an Arizona tea or some chips from the gas station down the street, and be able to just kind of settle in for a movie. A movie. I mean, it's a game, but it felt like a movie. It felt like a interactive story, in a way, not interactive where you're, of course, making decisions or making choices, but just feeling so invested in the characters and where they're going to end up at the end, that I think that's kind of why I would put it as a game I'd like to replay for the first time, because it really did, it feels like a feeling that will never be attainable, more than any others that I would have on my list for that, because it was definitely within a part of my life, where I was able to have the time, and just the ability from after college, be able to just go and get a tea, some chips, stay up late, and then just play this game that had a really amazing story with characters that made you feel things, and the events that happened to them would give me a real visceral reaction, which I haven't played part 2 yet, which I'm sure that will be certainly another experience. But I think I could speak a lot more about the game, and I think the gameplay was great. I think the technical stuff was amazing, but just it really was a game that kind of really felt part and parcel of a time of my life and a ritual that I was dedicating to that game.
I think also I agree with you, by the way. And I don't know, for anyone who's watching or listening, he's talking about the original release, but he said part 1, so I just wanted to make that clear. Right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
The PS3 first Last of Us Part 1, Chapter 1.
The Last of Us.
Yes, The Last of Us.
There we go. I do want to add, because kind of this is saying exactly what you were saying, but like he was saying, you're part of your life, and it's kind of like that was like right when we became like, we got right when we got out of high school, like that's when that game came out. So it's kind of like transitioning us into adulthood, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with what you're saying there, and it's like a weird turning point, kind of, between being in high school and then being or going on your own to work or go to college or whatever. So, yeah.
I think, and yeah, thanks, Colin. I think, funny enough, I do believe how I see the first part is part of the reason why I just haven't gotten to playing the second part, because there's something about, I don't know if I'm wanting to preserve the feeling of that first experience, or maybe, like I think the second part would certainly probably enhance that, would add to the story. It would flesh out the arcs and the characters more. But there's something about it, it is taking a little bit of an effort for me to think about wanting to continue that story, because so much of that game, although again, I don't want to understate like how what a masterpiece that game was. I don't mean to be hyperbolic, but I really do think about that in that way about that game. But not to understate that, but certainly going to the second part does feel difficult, because so much of why the first part was amazing for me was just being able to settle into the game, being able to have that ritual, to treat it like this is like something that's really, really special, and something that deserves my undivided attention. So I do think about that with the part 2 a lot, because I think there's a fallacy there, of course. Part 2 is certainly a great product, and I'll get to it one day, but I do think the nostalgia that I have for the first one is holding me back from playing the second one.
That's fair. I think a lot of people feel that way, and the first game, or didn't really need a sequel, but I think they did do it well, very well, as Gabe was saying earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've got part 2 on disc if you ever want it.
Thanks, Gabe.
So, to recap, we have 3 Naughty Dog games on here.
True. Nice.
Legends, I tell you. Also, their average Metacritic score of those 3 games. Do you want to know what they are?
What?
97.
Probably, honestly. Here, let me pull it up real fast. Okay. The Last of Us has a 96. Oh no, 95. Last of Us 1 has a 95. Uncharted 2 has a 96. And The Last of Us Part 2 has a 93. So basically 94-ish, 95 maybe.
Yeah.
Insanity.
Nice.
All right, my last pick will be the one and the only, the one that got us all into it, Yakuza 0. And I could probably make a whole hour-long video about this, just rambling, but actually, okay, real quick. I remember buying, I think, Yakuza 4 in the PS3 days, because it was actually well received, and I remember being like, what the hell is this? It's not even in English. Obviously the text was, and it was just beating people up on the street at the beginning, so I returned it promptly to GameStop. And I think it was 4, but it might have been 3. I don't remember. But that was probably in like 2010-ish. But anyway, bought Yakuza 0 when it came out. Played it like an hour and then went back, but like months later I went back and finished it. And I think what really got me into it, and you could probably all say the same, is the Majima opening cutscene. Like that hour-long cutscene for whatever reason. Actually, Nate, do you remember we watched that together for the first time?
Yeah, dude, customer is king.
Yeah. And it was literally that whole cutscene is like just a movie in and of itself, and it's really cool. And then no more spoilers, but like just the way they always ended on a cliffhanger before you'd switch to the next character. After every 2 chapters was pretty pretty cool, and then it made you just want to go back to playing as that last character. But at the same time, something interesting just happened with this character, so it's really cool how they did that. Technically the 8 different styles are all crazy, the fighting styles, because of 4 for each character. Well, once you beat the game, that is, or unlock all the parts, whatever. Anyway, and then just the way the combat evolves as you unlock more skills, and then just how the story goes, and then you get to the karaoke or any of the side missions, and it's just one hell of a game. And honestly, like, really, for real, replaying that would be, especially if I had like more knowledge of what I was going into, I think it would make it even better. But even just playing it kind of blindly, it was an amazing experience. Yeah.
One thing I've noticed about like all of our games we've shared so far is that they all seem pretty like unique. Like there's no other game like them, and I think Yakuza is a great example. Like sure, it's a beat 'em up, and those exist, but there's just the drama of that series that you can't like no one else nails that tone of drama that they do in those games. And Zero might have the most of it because it's like the longest game, right, or something.
I think it's 0 or
No, 5.
5.
5 is longer, but yeah.
It's a great pick.
Also, like, just the fact that the story can be so serious and then like all the side shit is like just kind of stupid, honestly. But like it works so well together, and I don't know any other game that can like do that, to be honest. And like,
I mean, like Yakuza, just like even parts of the main story, it's just balls to the wall, and it's just it's ridiculous, but like in a good way. Like you've come to expect that from Yakuza. So like something happens in one of the games, and I'm like, that would surprise me if it was some other game, but like, I know how Yakuza is, so I know like this is kind of standard fare.
Yeah.
What was unique to me about one of the things that was unique to me about Yakuza was, especially Zero, there was a lot of work from the developers to make clear to Western audiences what the economic and the social setting was like.
True.
At that time, which I think was just rare to see that from my experience. I learned a little bit about what very, very broad strokes of what the Japanese economy was in the 80s, and the idea of real estate as a gameplay mechanic, as a gameplay system was really part of that, where this person's just buying up properties because people are just spending money like it's never going to run out. I thought that was kind of unique because I think some people may draw parallels with that to Rockstar's games, and so there is some similarities with developers' patterns or tendencies to kind of put in social or economic commentary in the game.
And actually, going back to when I first bought Yakuza 4, I'm pretty sure I bought it because everyone's like, "Oh, it's just a Japanese Grand Theft Auto," and I'm like, "Cool." And then it's not like that at all, honestly. It's more like
Yakuza.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just like a 3D Streets of Rage with like 500 million extra things to do and a good story.
Like to me, Yakuza is like one of those it's a mixed bowl of like everything. Like
it's literally
it's semi open world like GTA or like Sleeping Dogs, but it's like on a small scale. Like it's manageable. Like Kamurocho's pretty big, but comparatively it's small. But then you don't have to worry about like driving places or anything, It's got the beat 'em up combat, but like there's nothing, at least for like 0 and 1, or Kiwami, there's not like a whole lot of games I can think of where you have the different styles, you know? And like, yeah, like the combat, like upgrading your abilities, like honestly, to me, it's not like you don't really upgrade anything and get like super good abilities, I feel like, to Yakuza, but it's like all small stuff that adds up, like being able to do a finisher on somebody when he's on the ground, like you don't start off with that kind of ability, and
Yeah.
that's such a small thing, but like it really helps when you get to later in the game when you're fighting 10, 15 people at one time, being able to methodically take down one person because you got him on the ground is nice, or being able to counterattack right after you got grabbed, or stuff like that. And yeah, and like just having like side content, and like there are like side missions, but like majority of the side content you're going to be doing are like whatever's featured in that game, whether it's a cabaret club or the construction part from like Kiwami 2, or like the real estate part in Zero. Like I don't know, it's just Yakuza is such a unique thing where like I haven't really got that experience from another game unless it's another Yakuza game.
True. True. Also, as a final note for me, that kind of rekindled my appreciation for Japanese culture, and really playing through those games make me want to go to Japan, which I'm planning on doing next year in the spring. So, yeah, just I don't know, the way that they like the Japanese always like hone in on their craft, and you can kind of tell when playing, Yakuza or games similar to that they really do appreciate what they're doing, working on, and you can kind of tell by the product that comes out. So. Also, Nate, you got to finish Kiwami 2.
I would like
same.
to.
Do it. Should I share a screen of our fantasy critic?
Oh
I looked
god,
at that too.
I haven't looked at that in like 3 months.
We're nearing the last 2 months. There's not going to be many games coming out now. Hold on. Share my screen. How do I do?
Cullen, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, we are. I'm just sharing the screen real quick.
Play the music.
The music. Oh no. Oh, give me 1 second. 1 second.
Oh no. Barney's on fire.
No.
I must log in real fast. Oh, my password is compromised. Come on.
Okay, well, we can leave that for another one.
Bro,
Okay, just screen share your 2-factor. It's all right.
Yeah.
We'll help you figure it out.
Yeah.
All right, well.
Might need your social too.
Yeah. Here, I got it right here. Kabam. All right. Gabe is winning now.
A surprise to be sure.
Nice.
Sorry, Nate. You're kind of ending up like me last year.
Oof.
It looks like it.
Yeah. And yeah, at least you got God of War. Yeah, we still got a decent amount of games coming, but wait, these don't count if they don't come out this year, right?
Why No, they're not going to count.
So
No.
I just want to make sure, but it says upcoming. It's just kind of weird.
That's weird.
So yeah, we got 4 more games, unless I don't know if these will get reviews, but yeah. So far, Gabe's in first, I'm in second, Brett's in third, and Nathan is fourth. So at the end of the year, though, we will do a full recap and talk about our thoughts on everything. So
Yeah.
stay tuned for that. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed this. As always, if you're on YouTube, we have a podcast. Check your favorite. We have a podcast version of this. Check your favorite podcast platform. Or if you're listening to this, check the video on YouTube. Just search Tropicalcast. You will find us. And besides that, we hope you will join us for the next video or check out our old ones. And we will see you next time.
Bye-bye, everyone.
So long.
So long. Farewell
Oh, God.
to you, my friends. Dun, 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 until we meet again. That's all I remember.
It's more than enough.
You're more than enough.
Oh, shut up. All right.
That's really sweet.
That's sweet.
Brotherly love.